The massive crystal towers of Valdris Prime stretched toward the purple sky like frozen lightning. Inside the largest tower, 12 different alien species sat around a circular table made of pure energy. The room hummed with power as holographic displays showed star maps and fleet positions. This was the Hegemony Council, and today they would decide the fate of a small blue planet called Earth. Admiral Kethvar stood at the center of the room. His purple skin gleamed under the artificial lights, and his 4 arms moved gracefully as he spoke. The Zephyrian was known throughout the galaxy as a brilliant military commander. Today, he had come to present what he called the Earth problem. "Fellow council members," Kethvar began, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered dozens of worlds. "The humans continue to expand their territory. They have built colonies on 7 worlds in their local cluster. If we allow them to continue, they will become a threat to our expansion into the Orion Arm." A reptilian delegate from the Scorian Empire hissed softly. "Threat? These humans still use projectile weapons and chemical rockets. Our ships travel faster than light while they crawl between planets like insects." Kethvar activated a holographic display showing Earth's solar system. Red dots marked human military installations on various planets and moons. True, their technology appears primitive, but they breed quickly and fight with unusual determination. Intelligence reports suggest they have been preparing for conflict. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Hegemony had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 3,000 years. No single species had ever dared to challenge their authority. The idea that a primitive race from a backwater system would prepare for war against them seemed almost insulting. Lord Chancellor Vexara of the Ethereal Collective spoke next. Her translucent form shimmered as she accessed the shared data networks. "Our analysis indicates human military technology is approximately 800 years behind galactic standard. They possess nuclear weapons, basic energy shields, and kinetic projectile systems. Against our plasma cannons and reality manipulation technology, they would last perhaps 6 hours." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council. The delegate from the Machine Confederacy, a being more computer than flesh, projected tactical simulations into the air. The models showed human fleets being destroyed with ease by advanced alien weaponry. "The question," continued Kethvar, "is not whether we can defeat them. The question is whether we should bother. The Orion Arm contains enough resources to fuel our civilizations for 10,000 years. We cannot allow a primitive species to claim what rightfully belongs to the advanced races of the galaxy." On the other side of space, in an underground facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her computer screens with growing alarm. The Deep Space Monitoring Array had been Earth's eyes and ears beyond the solar system for 20 years. What she saw now made her blood run cold. "Director Chen to control," she spoke into her headset. "We have a massive buildup of unidentified vessels at grid reference 77 Alpha." The response came immediately. "How massive, Director?" Sarah looked at the numbers again, hoping she had made a mistake. "Preliminary count shows over 2,000 ships, ranging from frigate class to something the size of a small moon. They're holding position at the galactic boundary, approximately 40 light-years from Earth." She switched to another screen showing energy signatures. The readings were off the charts. Whatever these ships were powered by, it made Earth's most advanced fusion reactors look like campfires. "Director, are you certain these readings are accurate?" Sarah had been hoping someone would ask that question. She ran the diagnostics again, checking every sensor and calculation. The results remained the same. "Confirmed, Control. We are looking at the largest alien fleet in recorded history, and they appear to be organizing for a coordinated advance. Within 6 hours, every major world leader sat in the secure briefing room beneath Geneva. The President of the Americas, The Premier of the Asian Federation, the Chancellor of Europa, and representatives from every Earth colony attended via secure quantum link. General Morrison, head of Earth Defense Command, stood at the front of the room with Sarah beside him. "Ladies and gentlemen," Morrison began, "as of 1400 hours today, we have confirmation that Earth faces an imminent alien invasion. Dr. Chen will brief you on what we know." Sarah activated the wall display, showing the alien fleet in stark detail. The enemy force consists of ships using technology we cannot fully understand. Their energy output suggests weapons capabilities thousands of times more powerful than anything in our arsenal. Based on their current position and probable speed, we estimate they will reach Earth in approximately 36 days. The room erupted in worried voices. The President of the Americas raised her hand for silence. "Dr. Chen, what are our chances of survival using conventional defense strategies?" Sarah looked at General Morrison, who nodded grimly. "Ma'am, using current military doctrine and available resources, our chances of successfully defending Earth are less than 2%. The silence that followed was deafening. Then the Chancellor of Europa spoke. "General Morrison, I assume you did not call this meeting to tell us we are doomed. What are our options?" Morrison smiled for the first time since the briefing began. "Actually, Chancellor, I called this meeting to inform you that we are activating Project Prometheus." Several leaders exchanged glances. Even at their security level, most had never heard of Project Prometheus. The Premier of the Asian Federation leaned forward. "General, perhaps you could enlighten those of us not familiar with this project." Prometheus has been active for 43 years, Morrison explained. "It began when we first detected signs of advanced alien civilizations. Every breakthrough in physics, every advancement in materials science, every innovation in computer technology has been quietly funneled into this program. We have been preparing for this day since before most of you were born." He gestured to Sarah, who activated a new set of displays. These showed human ships, unlike anything the leaders had seen before. Sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around them. Weapons that looked more like works of art than instruments of war. "The ships you see here represent 40 years of human ingenuity and determination," Morrison continued. "They incorporate technologies the aliens know nothing about. Faster-than-light drives that don't require the exotic matter alien ships use. Weapons that manipulate gravity and space-time itself. Defensive systems that can phase matter in and out of normal reality." The President of the Americas stared at the images. "How many of these ships do we have?" "As of today, the Prometheus. Fleet consists of 800 vessels of various classes, with manufacturing continuing around the clock. But our true advantage is not in numbers or even technology. Our advantage is that the enemy believes we are primitives. They will come expecting an easy victory against spears and stones. Instead, they will face the focused fury of a species that has spent nearly half a century preparing for their arrival." Sarah added, "We have also established hidden bases throughout the solar system and beyond. The monitoring stations they probably dismiss as scientific outposts are actually heavily armed fortifications. When they arrive, they will find that Earth's defenses extend far beyond what they can imagine." Morrison concluded the briefing with words that would echo through history. 43 years ago, humanity looked at the stars and realized we were not alone. Today, the galaxy is about to learn that humans do not go quietly into the dark. They wanted to breach Earth's frontiers. They are about to discover that we have been preparing to defend them with everything we have. As the alien fleet began its final approach toward the solar system, neither side fully understood what was about to unfold. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations were preparing to crush what they saw as an insignificant pest. Humanity was preparing to show them exactly how wrong they were. The hegemony fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system with the confidence of conquerors. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching the primitive system spread out. Before them on the tactical displays, 8 planets orbited a yellow star, with the third planet showing the blue-green colors of a living world. "Fleet status report," Kethvar commanded. "All ships operational, Admiral," his tactical officer replied. 2,400 vessels in perfect formation. The vanguard consists of 300 heavy cruisers, followed by our main battle fleet. No signs of enemy resistance. Kethvar studied the sensor readings with growing satisfaction. The human worlds looked exactly as intelligence had predicted. Small settlements on various planets and moons, connected by slow chemical rockets and basic fusion drives. A few primitive space stations orbited the major worlds, but nothing that could threaten a modern military force. "Begin the advance," he ordered. "Maintain fleet formation and prepare to demonstrate our superiority. When these humans see the power of the hegemony, they will surrender without firing a shot." The massive alien fleet began moving toward Earth, their advanced drives propelling them at significant fractions of light speed. On the bridge of every ship, confident commanders prepared for what they expected to be a brief and one-sided conflict. Then everything changed. The first sign, something was wrong, came when the fleet's long-range sensors detected movement where there should have been none. What appeared to be empty space suddenly revealed dozens of human ships, seeming to phase into reality like ghosts becoming solid. "Admiral!" the sensor operator called out in alarm. "Unknown vessels appearing on all sides of the fleet. They seem to have been hiding in normal space somehow." Kethvar frowned at the display. The human ships looked nothing like the primitive craft in their intelligence reports. These vessels were sleek and angular, with hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. More concerning was their positioning. They had somehow surrounded the hegemony fleet without being detected. "How is this possible?" Kethvar demanded. "Our sensors can detect a single fighter at range of 50 light years." Before anyone could answer, the human ships opened fire. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, one of the first ships built under Project Prometheus. Around her, the crew worked with calm efficiency as they engaged targets that had been marked hours ago. "Gravitational lance ready, Captain," reported her weapons officer. "Target the lead hegemony dreadnought," Maria ordered. "Full power." The Defiant's main weapon was unlike anything that existed in the Galactic Standard arsenal. Instead of firing energy or projectiles, it manipulated gravity itself, creating focused waves of compressed spacetime that could crush matter at the molecular level. The lance fired with no visible beam or flash. On the alien flagship's bridge, Kethvar watched in horror as one of his largest dreadnoughts simply crumpled like paper being squeezed by an invisible hand. The massive ship, designed to withstand plasma cannons and nuclear weapons, collapsed into a sphere no larger than a building before exploding in a burst of superheated matter. "What kind of weapon was that?" someone screamed on the bridge. "All ships, evasive action," Kethvar shouted into his communications system. "Return fire immediately." The hegemony fleet responded with everything they had, plasma beams capable of melting continents lanced out toward the human ships. Reality-warping missiles that could phase through normal matter streaked across space. Energy weapons that operated on principles beyond human understanding focused their devastating power on the strange vessels that had dared to challenge them. The humans didn't even try to dodge. Instead, the human ships activated their defensive systems. Space around each vessel seemed to twist and bend, creating bubbles of altered reality that deflected the alien weapons like raindrops hitting glass. Plasma beams that should have vaporized the human ships simply curved around them and dispersed harmlessly into space. "Impossible," whispered the Zephyrian tactical officer. "Their defensive fields are operating on principles we don't understand." Maria Santos smiled grimly as enemy fire splashed uselessly against her ship's phase shields. "All ships, Pattern Alpha, let's show them what humans do to uninvited guests." The human fleet split into dozens of smaller groups, each one moving, with perfect coordination. They didn't fight like any military force the aliens had ever encountered. Instead of maintaining formation and trading fire at long range, the human ships moved like a pack of wolves, constantly shifting position and striking from unexpected angles. The UES Retribution phased directly through an alien battlecruiser, somehow passing through solid matter without effect, before rematerializing on the other side and firing point-blank into the enemy's engines. The alien ship erupted in flames as its power core overloaded. The UES Vengeance used its Alcubierre, drive not for travel but as a weapon, creating space-time distortions that tore enemy ships apart at the seams. Entire squadrons of alien fighters found themselves trapped in gravity wells that compressed them into metallic paste. "Admiral, we're losing ships faster than we can count them," reported Kethvar's aide. "The humans are using technology that shouldn't exist. Our weapons cannot penetrate their defenses, but they're cutting through our fleets like they're made of paper." Kethavar stared at the tactical display in growing disbelief. In 30 minutes of combat, the humans had destroyed over 400 hegemony vessels while losing exactly 0 of their own. It wasn't just that the human technology was superior, it was that they fought with a tactical brilliance that caught his forces completely off guard. "How are they coordinating their attacks so perfectly?" he demanded. His communications officer looked up from her station with wide eyes. "Admiral, I think they're using quantum entanglement for instant communication. Their entire fleet is connected, in real time, sharing targeting data and tactical information faster than light-speed transmission." The implications hit Kethvar like a physical blow. The humans weren't just technologically advanced, they were thinking and reacting as a single organism. Every ship knew exactly what every other ship was doing, allowing them to coordinate attacks and defenses with impossible precision. "Sir," called the sensor operator, "detecting massive energy signatures from the human homeworld. Something big is powering up. On Earth, the first phase of humanity's defense was proceeding exactly as planned. Dr. Sarah Chen monitored the battle from her command center, watching as the Prometheus fleet systematically dismantled the alien vanguard. Phase 1 complete," she reported to General Morrison. "The enemy has lost 30% of their forward elements and is beginning to fall back to regroup." Morrison nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. Are they taking the bait?" "Affirmative. They're withdrawing to what they think is a safe distance, exactly as predicted. They'll try to reorganize and plan a coordinated assault on what they believe are our main forces." "Perfect. Signal all hidden installations. Prepare to activate Phase 2. Throughout the solar system, defense platforms that had been disguised as research stations or mining operations began powering up weapons that would redefine the meaning of overwhelming firepower. The aliens thought they had seen humanity's best. They were about to learn that the Prometheus fleet was just the opening act. Admiral Kethvar finally managed to pull his surviving ships back to what he hoped was a safe distance. Almost half his fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons and tactics he couldn't understand. The humans had fought with a ferocity and skill that defied everything he knew about primitive species. "Prepare for coordinated assault," he ordered his remaining commanders. "Whatever technology they possess, they cannot have unlimited numbers. We will overwhelm them with sheer firepower." He didn't know that humanity had been hoping he would think exactly that. The trap was set, and the aliens were walking directly into it. Admiral Kethvar stared at the tactical display, trying to understand how his superior force had been so thoroughly outmatched. The humans had fallen back after their initial strike, allowing his remaining fleet to regroup near the gas giant. The locals called Jupiter. It gave him time to think, but thinking only made the situation more disturbing. "Analysis report," he demanded from his science officer. The three-eyed Rigelian consulted his datapad nervously. "Admiral, the human weapons operate on principles we have never encountered. They appear to manipulate fundamental forces directly: gravity, space-time, even the strong nuclear force. Our current understanding of physics suggests such technology should be impossible. Nothing is impossible if you understand the science behind it, Kethvar replied grimly. What about their defensive capabilities? Even more disturbing, sir. Their ships seem to phase in and out of normal reality at will. When our weapons strike their vessels, the energy simply passes through them as if they don't exist. Then they solidify just long enough to return fire before becoming intangible again. Kethvar turned to his communications officer. Send a message to the Hegemony Council. Tell them we need reinforcements. Everything they can send. Sir, with respect, reinforcements will take weeks to arrive. Do we have weeks? Before Kethvar could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The sensor operator's voice cut through the noise with barely controlled panic. Admiral, massive contacts appearing throughout the system, hundreds of them, possibly thousands. The tactical display updated to show new signatures scattered across the entire solar system. What the aliens had dismissed as asteroids, space, debris, and research stations were revealing themselves to be something far more dangerous. Dr. Sarah Chen smiled as she watched the aliens' confusion from her command center. Phase 2 is active. All hidden installations are now online. General Morrison studied the real-time battle display with satisfaction. How many defensive platforms do we have operational? 17,000 primary installations, ranging from small fighter bases hidden in asteroids to massive battle stations disguised as space habitats. Plus, another 40,000 automated defense drones that have been hiding in the asteroid belt for the past 20 years. Morrison nodded. And they still think they're fighting just the Prometheus fleet. Correct. They have no idea that every piece of space infrastructure in the system is actually a weapons platform. Throughout the solar system, humanity's true defensive network revealed itself. The mining station on Europa extended weapon batteries that had been concealed beneath fake industrial equipment. Research platforms near Saturn unfolded like deadly flowers, revealing particle beam arrays capable of sterilizing planets. Even the small observation posts on distant moons sprouted defensive turrets and missile launchers. But the greatest surprise was still to come. Activate Cerberus Protocol, Chen ordered. In the asteroid belt, objects that had been drifting in space for decades suddenly came to life. What the aliens had mapped as random space rocks were actually carefully positioned kinetic bombardment platforms. Each asteroid had been hollowed out and fitted with gravity manipulation systems, turning them into massive projectile weapons. Commander James Wright coordinated the attack from the hidden base inside Ceres. All Cerberus units, prepare for synchronized bombardment. Target the enemy fleet concentration near Jupiter. The asteroid belt transformed into a weapon unlike anything ever imagined. Thousands of rocks, some as large as buildings, others the size of cities, began accelerating toward the alien fleet. But these weren't simple kinetic impacts. Each asteroid was guided by advanced AI and equipped with its own gravity manipulation systems. Admiral Kethvar watched in growing horror as his sensors detected the incoming bombardment. How many projectiles are heading toward us? Over 4,000 individual objects, sir. Impact in 12 minutes. All ships, evasive action. Move to combat dispersal formation. But the Hegemony fleet discovered they couldn't simply dodge. Each asteroid adjusted its course in real time, guided by quantum computers that calculated trajectories with impossible precision. Worse, the gravitational fields around each projectile were so intense that they dragged nearby ships off course, making evasion even more difficult. The first asteroids struck the alien fleet like the fist of an angry god. Ships that had survived plasma cannon fire and reality warping missiles were simply crushed by chunks of rock moving at significant fractions of light speed. The kinetic energy release was so enormous that it lit up space like a miniature star. "Sir," screamed the communications officer over the chaos. "We're receiving a transmission from the humans." "Put it through," Kethvar ordered, hoping they were calling to discuss surrender terms. Instead, a calm human voice filled the bridge. "Attention Hegemony forces. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You came to our system expecting to find primitives armed with sticks and stones. Instead, you have encountered a species that has spent 4 decades preparing for your arrival. We offer you one chance to withdraw your forces and return to your own territory. Refuse, and discover what humans do to those who threaten our homes. Kethvar's pride warred with his tactical sense. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons and strategies he couldn't counter, but the idea of retreating from a primitive species was almost unthinkable. "Open a channel," he ordered. "This is Admiral Kethvar of the Hegemony Combined Fleet. Your tricks may have surprised us, but you face the combined might of 12 stellar empires. Surrender now, and we will allow your species to serve the hegemony as slaves rather than face complete extinction." The response came immediately, and there was laughter in the human voice. "Admiral, you still don't understand the situation. You're not facing human tricks or primitive weapons. You're facing the focused genius of a species that has been preparing for war longer than some of your crew members have been alive. Allow me to demonstrate." The transmission ended, and immediately the human fleet began a new type of attack. Ships that had seemed to retreat suddenly appeared in the middle of Kethvar's formations, having somehow teleported across vast distances in an instant. They weren't using faster-than-light drives. They were using something that folded space itself, allowing them to step from one location to another like walking through doorways. The UES Prometheus materialized directly next to Kethvar's flagship and fired what the humans called a reality anchor. The weapon created a bubble of altered physics around the alien ship, making it impossible for their own technology to function. Plasma weapons powered down, shields collapsed, and even life support systems began failing as the fundamental laws that governed their operation changed. "What is happening to my ship?" Kethvar demanded. His science officer was frantically checking his instruments. "Sir, they've somehow altered the physical constants in our local space. Our technology can't function because the basic laws of physics have been changed around us." Throughout the fleet, similar attacks were crippling alien vessels without actually destroying them. The humans were demonstrating that they could disable their enemies at will, leaving them helpless but alive. It was a psychological weapon as much as a physical one. Commander Wright's voice echoed across all frequencies as the asteroid bombardment continued. "Attention, alien forces. What you're experiencing is called human ingenuity. We've had 4 decades to think about this problem. 4 decades to develop weapons you've never seen, tactics you've never encountered, and strategies you never imagined. We've turned our entire solar system into a weapon, and you've just triggered the smallest part of it." As if to emphasize his point, the outer planets themselves began showing signs of massive energy buildup. Jupiter's great red spot pulsed with unnatural light as hidden installations deep in the gas giant's atmosphere prepared to activate. Saturn's rings realigned themselves into a perfect geometric pattern, revealing that they too had been modified into some kind of massive weapon system. Admiral Kethvar finally understood the truth. The humans hadn't just been preparing to defend themselves. They had been preparing to wage total war on a scale that boggled the mind. Every planet, every moon, every piece of debris in their system had been weaponized. The entire solar system was a trap, and his fleet had walked directly into it. "Sir," his aide whispered, "perhaps we should consider the human offer of withdrawal." Kethvar looked at the tactical display showing his rapidly diminishing fleet. The humans were right about one thing. They had spent decades preparing for this moment. The question was whether his pride was worth the complete destruction of the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever assembled. The answer would determine not just the fate of his fleet, but the future of the entire galaxy. Admiral Kethvar's decision came too late. Even as he opened communications to discuss withdrawal, his remaining ships were already trapped. The humans had been planning this moment for decades, and they weren't about to let their enemies escape. "To warn the rest of the galaxy." "Admiral," his tactical officer reported with barely concealed terror. Human ships are appearing between us and our escape routes. They're blocking every possible exit from the system. Kethvar studied the tactical display and felt something he had never experienced in 3 centuries of military service: complete helplessness. The humans had positioned their forces with perfect precision, creating an invisible net around his fleet that was only now becoming visible. "Signal retreat to all ships," he ordered. "Emergency jump to hyperspace, scatter formation." The remaining hegemony vessels attempted to engage their faster-than-light drives, but nothing happened. Ships that should have vanished into hyperspace remained stubbornly locked in normal space. "Sir!" the engineering officer called out in panic. "Our FTL drives are offline. Something is preventing us from entering hyperspace." Dr. Sarah Chen watched the alien fleet's escape attempts from her command center with satisfaction. "Hyperspace? Inhibitors are functioning perfectly," she reported to General Morrison. "The enemy fleet is completely trapped in normal space." "Excellent," Morrison replied. "Initiate Operation Lighthouse. Let's round up the survivors." What the aliens didn't know was that humanity's preparations had extended far beyond the solar system. For 20 years, secret human expeditions had been establishing hidden bases throughout the local star cluster. Every time an alien scout ship had detected a primitive human exploration vessel, they had dismissed it as the bumbling efforts of a species barely capable of interstellar travel. They had been catastrophically wrong. Captain Elena Rodriguez commanded the UES Hunter, one of 40 human ships that had been lying dormant in the Proxima Centauri system for 15 years. Her crew had lived in suspended animation, waiting for the signal that would activate Operation Lighthouse. "All stations, this is Hunter Actual," she announced, as her ship powered up its systems. "Operation Lighthouse is active. Targets should begin appearing in our sector within the next 6 hours." The Hunter was one of humanity's most advanced vessels, equipped with technology that didn't officially exist. Her ship could remain undetected even while moving at faster-than-light speeds, thanks to stealth systems that operated by phasing the vessel slightly out of normal space-time. 6 hours later, her patience was rewarded. 3 alien ships dropped out of hyperspace near Proxima Centauri, their crews probably hoping to regroup and call for reinforcements. They had no idea they were flying directly into another human trap. "Contact," reported the sensor operator. 3 vessels, hegemony configuration. They appear to be attempting to establish a communication relay." Captain Rodriguez smiled coldly. "Launch hunter-killer drones. Let's introduce them to human hospitality." The alien ships never saw what hit them. Rodriguez's drones were microscopic machines that could phase through matter at will. They penetrated the enemy hulls without triggering any alarms, then began systematically disabling critical systems from within. General Elizabeth Hayes coordinated Operation Lighthouse from her secret command post in the Alpha Centauri system. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of human forces throughout dozens of star systems. For years, these bases had remained hidden, their crews living in isolation while they waited for this moment. "Status report," she ordered. 47. "Enemy vessels have been intercepted and neutralized so far," her aide reported. 0 enemy ships have successfully escaped our containment zone. "Any attempts to send distress signals?" "Several, General, but all were blocked by our communication jammers. The enemy leadership has no idea what happened to their fleet." The scope of humanity's preparations was staggering. Every system within 50 light-years of Earth contained at least one hidden human outpost. They had been positioned based on careful analysis of alien patrol routes and communication patterns, ensuring that any escaping ships would run directly into another trap. In the Ross 128 system, Commander Liu Wei watched from inside a hollowed-out asteroid as 2 alien destroyers attempted to establish a forward base. His facility had been built inside the asteroid 20 years ago, its presence completely undetectable to standard sensors. "They're setting up communication equipment," his intelligence officer reported. "Probably trying to contact their home, fleet." Not today, Wei replied. Activate the gravity well generator. The asteroid that concealed his base was actually a massive gravity manipulation device. When activated, it created an artificial black hole that could be precisely controlled. The two alien ships suddenly found themselves trapped in a gravitational field so intense that their hulls began to buckle under the stress. "This is Commander Liu Wei of the Terran Defense Force," he announced on all frequencies. "You are now prisoners of war. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any attempt to resist will result in your immediate destruction." The aliens had no choice but to comply. They were learning that humans didn't just fight with superior technology. They fought with a strategic brilliance that had anticipated every possible move their enemies might make. Admiral Kethvar was experiencing the same lesson in the Sol system. His attempts to break out of the human trap had failed completely. Every direction he turned, more human ships appeared as if from nowhere. They had been positioned for this exact scenario, probably years in advance. "Admiral," his communications officer reported with a shaking voice, "we're receiving surrender demands from 17 different human commanders. They seem to have forces surrounding us from every direction." "How many human ships are there?" Kethvar demanded. "Unknown, sir. Every time our sensors detect a group, more appear. It's as if the entire region of space is filled with hidden human forces." The truth was even worse than Kethvar imagined. Humanity had spent 40 years turning their local star cluster into the galaxy's most sophisticated military trap. Every moon, every asteroid, every piece of space debris within 50 light years had been evaluated for its strategic value. The most promising locations had been converted into hidden bases, equipped with enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. Captain Maria Santos, still commanding the UES Defiant, received new orders from Fleet Command. "Maria, take your squadron to the Barnard Star system. Intelligence reports 3 enemy heavy cruisers attempting to establish a fallback position." "Acknowledged, Command. We're on our way." The Defiant and 5 other human ships engaged their Alcubierre drives, folding space to arrive at Barnard Star in minutes rather than months. They found the alien cruisers exactly where predicted, their crews frantically trying to set up defensive positions. The aliens never had a chance. The human ships attacked from 6 different directions simultaneously, their movements coordinated by quantum communication systems that allowed instant tactical updates. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. "Another clean sweep," Santos reported back to command. "No survivors, no escape pods. The enemy is beginning to understand that there is no safe harbor in human-controlled space." Admiral Kethvar finally realized the full scope of his situation when his science officer completed a comprehensive scan of local space. The results were terrifying. "Admiral, we've detected human installations in every star system within 70 light years. They appear to have been there for decades waiting for us. This entire region of space is under human control." The implications hit Kethvar like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just prepared to defend their homeworld. They had secretly conquered the entire local star cluster without anyone noticing. Every time the hegemony had detected a primitive human exploration mission, they had actually been observing the installation of another military outpost. "Sir," his aide whispered, "the humans didn't just prepare for war, they prepared for conquest." General Hayes received the final reports from her scattered forces as Operation Lighthouse neared completion. Status of enemy forces: "Complete containment achieved, General. Every enemy vessel that escaped the Sol system has been intercepted and neutralized. Total enemy losses, 93% of their invasion force. Human losses, 0. Outstanding. Begin Phase 3 preparations. Signal Earth that we're ready to demonstrate humanity's true capabilities to the galaxy." Admiral Kethvar's remaining ships hung motionless in space, surrounded by human forces that seemed to multiply every time he looked. His mighty fleet, once the pride of 12 stellar empires, had been reduced to a handful of crippled vessels trapped in enemy territory. "Admiral," his communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander." "Put it through." Dr. Sarah Chen's voice filled the bridge, calm and professional. "Admiral Kethvar, your invasion force has been completely neutralized. Your scattered ships have been captured or destroyed throughout this region of space. You now have a choice: surrender unconditionally and live, or continue resistance and face complete annihilation." Kethvar looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They had served the hegemony with honor and courage, but they were facing an enemy that had outthought and outfought them at every turn. 6 months after the failed invasion, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Valdris Prime. The same crystal towers where the Hegemony Council had planned Earth's destruction now gleamed in the light of their purple sun, but everything had changed. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving landing clearance from Valdris Traffic Control. They're directing us to the diplomatic berth." Sarah smiled at how different this reception was from the hostile fleet that had originally departed from this system. "Take us in, Captain. Time to begin the next phase of human expansion." The Harmony was unlike any ship that had ever visited Valdris Prime. Where hegemony vessels were built for intimidation and raw power, the human ship seemed to radiate peaceful strength. Its hull was covered with symbols representing every known species in the galaxy, and its weapon ports had been modified to project light displays instead of destructive energy. But beneath the peaceful exterior, the Harmony represented the most advanced technology in the galaxy. It was a mobile embassy, capable of defending itself against entire fleets while simultaneously hosting diplomatic conferences for hundreds of delegates. Dr. Sarah Chen had been promoted from her research position to become Earth's first galactic ambassador. It was a role that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago, when humanity was considered a primitive species barely worthy of notice. Now, she represented the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. "Ambassador," her aide announced, "the former Hegemony Council is assembled and waiting for your arrival." Sarah nodded, making final adjustments to her diplomatic uniform. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on her. The same leaders who had planned humanity's destruction were now waiting to hear what terms Earth would offer them. The council chamber looked exactly as it had during the planning sessions for the invasion, but the atmosphere was completely different. Where once alien delegates had sat in positions of supreme confidence, now they waited with the nervous energy of defendants awaiting judgment. Lord Chancellor Vex Ara of the Ethereal Collective was the first to speak as Sarah entered the chamber. "Ambassador Chen, on behalf of the former Hegemony Council, I welcome you to Valdris Prime. We are eager to hear humanity's terms for peace." Sarah took her seat at what had once been Admiral Kethvar's position at the center of the table. The symbolic reversal was deliberate. Humanity wanted it understood that the balance of power had shifted permanently. "Chancellor Vex Ara, honored delegates," Sarah began, "I come here not as a conqueror, but as the representative of a species that believes in cooperation over domination. The war between our peoples has ended, but what comes next is up to all of us." The reptilian delegate from the Scorian Empire hissed softly. "Ambassador, your species demonstrated military capabilities that exceed our combined fleets. What prevents you from simply taking whatever you wish?" It was the question everyone had been thinking, but few had dared to ask. Sarah had prepared for this moment, knowing that her answer would shape the future of galactic civilization. "Delegate Korthai, humanity learned long ago that conquest through force creates only temporary victories. True strength comes from building something that lasts. We want to create a galaxy where no species needs to fear invasion, where resources are shared rather than hoarded, and where scientific advancement benefits everyone." She activated a holographic display that showed star maps covering thousands of systems. For 40 years, humanity prepared for war while hoping for peace. We developed weapons that could destroy fleets and strategies that could conquer empires. But we also developed something far more powerful, a vision of what galactic civilization could become if we worked together. The Machine Confederacy delegate, its artificial consciousness processing the implications faster than biological minds, spoke next. You speak of cooperation, Ambassador, but your species destroyed our combined fleet without suffering a single loss. How do we know you won't simply eliminate us when it becomes convenient? Sarah stood and walked to the chamber's central display, calling up tactical recordings from the recent battle. Delegate Prime 7, review the engagement data carefully. At any point during the conflict, human forces could have chosen to completely annihilate your fleets rather than disable them. We had weapons capable of turning entire star systems into cosmic dust, but we chose restraint. The recordings showed the careful precision of human attacks, weapons that disabled rather than destroyed, tactical strikes that neutralized threats without unnecessary casualties. Even in the heat of battle, humanity had gone to extraordinary lengths to minimize loss of life. The reason is simple, Sarah continued. Humanity has learned that dead enemies cannot become living allies. Every species in this room has capabilities and knowledge that could benefit the entire galaxy. Why would we destroy such valuable potential? Admiral Kethvar, who had been given a position as military advisor to the Council despite his defeat, finally spoke. Ambassador Chen, your words are encouraging, but how do we transition from a galaxy ruled by 12 competing empires to whatever it is you're proposing? Sarah smiled, knowing she was about to reveal humanity's greatest secret. Admiral, what I'm proposing already exists. While you were planning our destruction, we were studying your civilizations. For 20 years, human agents have lived among your peoples, learning your languages, understanding your cultures, analyzing your needs and capabilities. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The human monitoring stations hadn't just been watching for military threats. They had been conducting the most comprehensive intelligence operation in galactic history. We know that the Ethereal Collective possesses energy manipulation technology that could solve the power needs of every inhabited world, Sarah continued. The Scorian Empire has developed agricultural techniques that could feed populations 10 times their current size. The Machine Confederacy has achieved levels of computational efficiency that could accelerate scientific research by centuries, she gestured to each delegate in turn. Every species represented here has strengths that complement the other's weaknesses. The hegemony's greatest failure was trying to force cooperation through conquest. Humanity offers something different, voluntary alliance based on mutual benefit. Chancellor Vexara leaned forward with interest. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador? The Terran Federation, Sarah announced. A voluntary alliance of species working together for mutual advancement. Each member world maintains internal autonomy while contributing to collective projects that benefit everyone. No tribute, no forced compliance, no domination of weaker species by stronger ones. The holographic display showed the proposed structure, hundreds of worlds connected by shared technology, joint research projects, and mutual defense agreements. It was a vision of galactic civilization unlike anything that had ever existed. And if we refuse this federation? Asked the delegate from the crystal hegemony. Sarah's expression remained friendly, but her words carried unmistakable steel. Then you continue as independent civilizations, free to pursue your own path. However, you should understand that humanity's defensive perimeter now extends throughout this entire region of space. Any attempt to recreate the old hegemony system of conquest and domination will be met with immediate intervention. It was diplomacy backed by overwhelming force, exactly the combination needed to convince civilizations that had only ever respected strength. Admiral Kethvar studied the proposed Federation structure with growing amazement. Ambassador, this isn't just a peace treaty. You're proposing to restructure galactic civilization itself. Exactly, Admiral. The old system was based on competition and conflict. resources wasted on warfare, scientific advancement limited by secrecy, entire species living in fear of stronger neighbors. Humanity spent 40 years preparing for that system's ultimate expression, total war. Now we're offering to build something better. Sarah activated another display showing technological sharing agreements. Under Federation membership, every species gains access to human defensive technology. No one needs to fear invasion again. In return, we share scientific knowledge, coordinate resource distribution, and work together on projects too large for any single civilization. The Machine Confederacy delegates' optical sensors flashed as it processed the data. The efficiency gains would be extraordinary. Computational resources shared across multiple species, research projects accelerated by diverse perspectives, resource allocation optimized on a galactic scale. Precisely, Sarah agreed. Humanity's greatest discovery wasn't any specific technology. It was the realization that cooperation multiplies strength while competition divides it. A galaxy of allied species working together is infinitely more powerful than a galaxy of empires competing against each other. Lord Chancellor Vexara conferred quietly with the other delegates before speaking. Ambassador Chen, your proposal is extraordinary, but such a fundamental change cannot be decided quickly. We will need time to consider the implications and consult with our home governments. Sarah nodded. Of course, Chancellor. This chamber will remain open for discussion as long as necessary. In the meantime, human engineering.